All right, let's get started. I'm not really sure where I'm going with this video, but it is around guiding and PHD2 in particular. And I really think in this video I'm going to show my current ignorance level when it comes to PHD2 and how to interpret guiding metrics and the various settings and options that are available. So this is probably going to be a part one, because after I share my ignorance with you, hopefully, if I really dig into this in a month or two, or at least by springtime, I'll be able to demonstrate some newfound knowledge and proficiency. Hi, I'm Bill, and welcome to the channel. So let's start maybe here. And image scale. It's important to understand what your image scale is. And in this presentation or video, I'm going to be talking about my RedCat 51 and my ZWO ASI 294 MM Pro that has selectable pixel size. And some of the images I'm going to show you, I'm using bin 1 2.3 microns, I believe, for the pixel size. But it's important to understand what the image scale is, and the image scale is the amount of sky recorded by each pixel. And so that's going to vary based upon cameras, focal lengths, and those combinations, as I understand it. And again, part of showing my ignorance is to give you in the audience who are knowledgeable an opportunity to educate me and help me move up the learning curve. I've said I'm going to dive into PHD2 now for several years, and I never did it, but now is the time to do it. So, again, image scale, the amount of sky recorded by each pixel, measured in arc seconds per pixel. A finer image scale means a higher resolution image. We're going to leave this part for here. So, finding out what my pixel scale is. So, I'm a fan of Astronomy.tools. They have various calculators. If you're not familiar with it, I'd check it out. And so in here I put in my telescope, 250 millimeter, and then my camera, and just selected OK seeing, which is generally what I run into most cases. But my pixel size is 2.31, and so that gives me a resolution of 1.91 arc seconds per pixel. So that's an important value. And not to go off on a tangent, but if we go to good seeing, then I'm under sampling a bit, and this reduces the influx of guiding errors, improves signal to noise at the expense of finest detail. But this is the gear I have, and this is the match that I'm going to keep, this ASI 294 MM with my RedCat 51. So let's not get bogged down here. And again, I need to know when I am looking at my, where are you? When I'm looking at my guiding metrics, and I'm going to tell you why I only look at the RMS error, which is in arc seconds. I'll show you that document in a second. But I asked, ChatGPT or whatever, what with an image scale of 1.9 arc seconds per pixel, what would be a good PHD2 RMS value? And the response was it generally be considered between 0.5 and 1.0 arc seconds. So at 1.91, 1.0 arc seconds would be less than the arc seconds per pixel with the camera I'm using with the Red Cat 51. And then, of course, a lower RMS value indicates better guiding precision. And since your image scale is relatively large per pixel, a slightly higher RMS value than with a smaller scale might be acceptable. And I think at the end of the day, the way I've been operating, being pretty much ignorant of PHD2, accepting the defaults and everything, is that if my stars look good, then, you know, I think I'm okay. And I think that's one thing to look at. And let's just take a look here at some images I collected recently, and they're in the stages of being processed. But so here's some, this is an HA, this one here is an HA capture integration of I think about 56 5-minute exposures for Cygnus Loop. And if we go in and we start to expand, to me, the stars are looking a little bit blocky because of potentially undersampling, I think. But at the end of the day, I find these star shapes acceptable to me based upon my standards. So I've basically been operating under the theory of my stars look good, independent of what my metrics may be telling me. Okay, go ahead and use the data. And I just want to point out something here. This is about, well, amongst the three narrowband filters, I got about close to 4.5 hours on this HA, and so I think the total I had was around maybe 12 hours of data collection, not including the RGB stars. But then if we go over, and I just want to call out, you know, surface brightness of a target is important when trying to factor how much integration time you're going to need. So while it's kind of hard to determine the specific surface brightness of Cygnus Loop because of the various factors of the supernova remnant, if we go into SH2-240, often known as the Spaghetti Nebula, this is over 5 hours and it is very faint. But again, if we scroll in and we look at the star shapes, again, a little bit blocky, which I would expect if you zoom in enough, but you see how faint this target is. And I'm glad I tried this target because most of my targets have not been this faint. And I'm going to spend some more time on this target, but this is about guiding, so let's get back to guiding. All right, so and then if you look in the PHD2 documentation, image scale and measurements in arc seconds, and this paragraph makes the case of why they use RMS error and not pixel, because they will give you an argument in this section here that tells you why they say arc seconds is the metric, RMS is the metric to look at when you're looking at your guiding performance. Other people may challenge that, but here's what they say. The real world things that affect guiding, bad seeing, mechanical displacements, flexure, etc., create guide star movements that are best measured in units of arc seconds. That's why PHD2 wants to know your camera pixel size and focal length. It can then convert the pixel-sized movements it sees on the guider images into units of arc seconds. That's what we call image scale, how linear measurements on the camera sensor translate into angular measurements. And they say, just to be clear, 1 arcsecond is only 1/3600th of a degree, the angular size of a 0.004 millimeter object held at arm's length. And then it goes on to say, discussions of guiding performance using units of pixels are completely meaningless, yet you will often see forum discussions that do that, and I have seen that. So again, what I've been focusing on is RMS when I'm looking at my guiding performance metrics. Now, if you're a user of PHD2 and you haven't downloaded the PHD2 log viewer, I will put this link in the video description. And that will take you to this page where you can download the appropriate viewer based upon your OS. Okay, so now let's go into the log viewer. Where are you at, PhD? So here is the log viewer. Now I want to show you something that I do as a Nina user. I have a script that I run called End of Night Script. I got it from Patriot Astro's site. And what it does nicely for me at the end of every night, that I'm imaging, it takes select log files and copies them over to a thumb drive, so then I can easily take that thumb drive and copy these items down into a travel disk that I travel with. So let's go in to look at the PHD2 logs, and I've been maintaining these from the beginning of the year, but let's take a look at my most recent trip. And that was when I was in Blue Canyon. So let's go. Oh, all right. And I just saw this now. There is a debug log. So, but let's go into the guide log for a new moon night, which was the 2nd of October. Okay, all right. So that's the log itself. So that's the text file. And then let's go into debug. Oh, okay. So what am I doing wrong here? Something. Oh, I know why. Because let's open it up through the tool. Again, I'm showing my ignorance here, and also demonstrates that I have not been doing this. So I'm being totally honest. So we're going to open, and then we're going to take from the 2nd. All right, and so what we see here are log sections, and some basic information here that you will find up in this section heading. Here, I don't know if I can make this larger, but there's a bunch of information. It knows what my pixel scale is for the guide scope, and a bunch of information. What do I have set for different parameters? It knows these parameters down here, so it's able to capture all that information. But then just at the course level, we're going to step through, just again, I'm slowly starting to drill down into this to understand how to use this information, how to decode the information, and that I can get some meaningful value that enables me to either say, okay, acceptable, or there's an opportunity to make an adjustment. And like most things, when I make adjustments, if I make an adjustment, I go slow. And I change one thing at a time. But if we look down here in this box, down at the bottom, and we just step through these different sections. So there, my total RMS was 0.88. And you can see for RA and declination, for right ascension and declination, relatively close. which I think is good as far as I understand. And here's the total. All right, then later we do another session, and now RA and declination are staying relatively close to each other, the ratio, and then my total is 0.91. And then a later section, and looking at this here, if we look at 22, 24, and we look at 23, 33, I do a autofocus every hour along the course of the night, and that might give us some idea on how this is being broken up, why the duration. I don't know if there's a default duration, but I think it could be related to when I do an autofocus, I believe guiding stops, but I could be wrong. All right, so here we're at 0.86, 0.82, and again, if we go back to this information here, and if I believe it to be true, with an image scale of 1.91 arc seconds per pixel, a good PHD2 RMS value would generally be considered to be between 0.5 and 1.0 arc seconds. If I take that to be true, and that's what I'm going to do for now, then so far we've been within that range of 0.82. Again, I am not looking at these pixel values here. Again, according to the documentation from PhD, they say where are we at? They say discussions of guiding performance using units of pixels are completely meaningless, yet you'll often see forum discussions that do that. And then it goes into why it's useless. So I am disregarding the pixel values. I am looking at RMS. So let's go back to this. And then a little later, around getting close to 2 o'clock in the morning, I now come up to 1.07. And I am not sure why my display scale has changed. I think it has to do with the height maybe of these movements. If we look back here, there's a really high movement, so I think the scale kind of gets compressed. So I need to understand how can I expand that. And so then we go back here and we come back to, now we're up to 1.07. And then interestingly, so that was for 31 minutes. And I think this was about the time that I'm changing targets. I shoot 2 targets in a night using Tom Palmer's target scheduler plugin for Nina. And so I think it was about that time. And so, and this is probably way after the flip for the first target anyway. 0.92, still within under 1.0 arc seconds. And then 252, I'm at 0.85. Almost 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm at 0.82. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm at 0.84. So for that night, it looks like everything, if we accept 0.05 to 1.0 arc seconds is a good range, RMS, then okay, looks reasonably well. And again, the validation was when I went and blinked the images, the exposures from that night, everything looked good, stars looked good. So, but now let's go on to another night. So just for this exercise here. And so let's go on the third night that I was at Blue Canyon. And let's come into here. And so there we're at 0.96, 0.82. Now I'm at 1.48. So I'm above that 1.0 arc seconds recommended value. So in my mind, here's where I want to start to dig in. What changed? I think seeing was pretty good that night. There were no clouds. But, you know, what information in these log files is available to me to help understand in this session or this section of guiding along the course of that night what happened or what might have changed. And now, you know, roughly an hour later in this session here for an hour, and you notice I'm back down to 0.85, 0.80, 0.84, 0.85, 0.81, 0.85. So I'm not really sure what to make of it. Which one was that? Was that this one here? Or this one here? No. Which one were you? This one here. At 21:16, what was going on? This was still early in the evening, so not quite sure what was happening there. I'd have to go back and look at my image timestamps and see what might have been going on. I might have done another polar alignment. Oh, that's interesting. While we're here, let's just jump on to here. This may be a little bit random, but again, I'm just trying to, if you're not familiar with the PHD2 log viewer, you're a PHD2 user and you have PHD2 logs available. I'm just kind of giving a little bit of overview of what's available as far as information. I imagine I will do another video on how to draw this information out and how to use it. But here's something interesting here. You can show what your star mass looked like for your guide star, and then what your signal to noise values were. But I really don't know what the scale is here or how to expand it because, you know, I see peaks and valleys, but I don't see a value associated with that. And then you can also set limits, I guess. And also then you can see scatter. Oh, maybe I need to be on star mass. Let's see. Do I need to pick somewhere? So I'm not sure how we get the scatter. Oh, I guess that is scatter. So these are pretty tight, I guess, tight stars. Oh, okay. There's a scatter for sure. So again, I'm not quite sure how to interpret this. I would think things that are outlying here would be of interest. Maybe I don't need to worry about them. So I'm not sure, you know, why that shows up. Oh, I think it might be related to the scale that's displayed here. And the scatter might be a representation of the reference circles here. So I don't know, but these are things I'm going to be finding out. These are things that I'm going to be sharing with you as I work to try and educate myself on the proper use of PHD2 when it comes to both my RedCat 51 and my AM5 mount. And now that I've sold my Skywatcher EQ6R Pro mount, I'm going to be using my ZWO AM5 to guide my Edge HD8. So what I am going to work with one mount for a while, at least through springtime, and then I'll make a decision of how what I might purchase for a second mount. but at least then I'll have one mount for both telescopes, although the nebula season's kind of ending. But anyway, I'll have one mount to work with when it comes to the reported metrics and see what I can learn. So, yeah, that's what I have to offer in this video on showing my ignorance, my current level of knowledge or ignorance when it comes to PHD2, and I need to be able to know how I can help myself. There's a lot of information that's available. There's the log viewer. There's a bunch of information out on the internet, cloudy nights, the PHD2 manual and guides. I just need to sit down and consume that information, and where I generally have trouble because of my short attention span. Let's go back into, I'm really revealing all here. So let me back this down to normal size. When I come upon, documentation like this where everything is kind of, all the letters are, all the sentences are kind of tight and everything, my short attention span makes it hard for me to sit down and read everything. I like big line spacing, big type, but I believe everything I need to know, for the most part, is in the documentation that the people that wrote PHD2 have provided. So I really just need to force myself to sit down and dig into the information and understand which information is of value to me, and then how do I apply it. How do I apply it, basically? So, all right, I think that's about it. If you like this kind of content, please give it a thumbs up. I'm pretty excited about my Cygnus Loop data. I hope to have this process. I'm going to Zion for a vacation with my wife, in a sense, to meet up with some friends. I won't be doing any imaging or probably any processing during that trip, but when I come back, I'll do that and start to produce these processes. I did Cygnus Loop several years ago. I did a 2-panel mosaic when I had my Z61. It turned out pretty nice, but I'm really pretty excited about the quality, or at least what looks like the quality of this data to me, and got some nice detail in there that I think I can pull out in some of these sections, and we'll see how that works out. All right, thanks again for dropping into this video. If you want to help educate me around PHD2, feel free to leave a comment. If there's something that you've been wondering about when it comes to PHD2, leave that as a comment and I'll try and dig that out for you and we can learn together. But other than that, clear skies.